There, that's now fixed. All right. So for those of you who are joining the stream on YouTube, brand new, hasn't been doing the stream all day. It's kind of silly, kind of sucks. I lost all of today's stream. So yeah, whatever. All good. We are all set there. We're all set there. So we stopped last night, or this morning rather. We stopped on we stopped at this spot where we were finally understanding how pointers and dereferences work with the YAML parser itself, which is not in here, but it is in, when we pull it in, it is in the YAML file itself, like the YAML import. And so inside here, none of this actually exists here. All the types are going to end up going into the types.go file. That being said, I don't know yet how to actually pull the types.go file into the loader itself, but all we're worrying about right now is finalizing all the stuff for all of our types for our current skill footprint. The idea being that the skill footprint will morph a little bit between now and when the alpha state starts getting built and we start actually putting stuff together. But the overall base like layout of it is set, unless I find a way to do things better. So like if I do what is the best format for skill descriptors in Go, in a Go RPG, right? And so it's YAML, ID, name, description, cost, etc., etc. And this is from Gemini, and so it's basically the same idea, which does the same thing that I'm actually doing. Now, that's AI saying that. Is that actually the case? Strong typing, etc., etc. Game design tutor from 2021. Skills, perks, traits. Interesting. What?
It's characters and character in.
Dan's game design tutorials.
Hi, my name's Dan, and this video is one in a series of videos that I'm doing about RPG mechanics.
Interesting.
How they apply to characters and character in advancements.
Interesting.
RPG video games. And in this one, I'm focusing in on skill trees, skills perks, things like that. Okay, so let's kick off. So the first thing is that this mechanic has many different names depending on the game that you're playing.
Skill,
I have come across
talent,
it being named
perk,
skills, perks,
abilities,
talents, traits, abilities, enhancements. There may be other names as well. So there is not one standard name. One of the most common, though, is skill. And this represents the idea that as your game progresses, the character learns new stuff. And it presents these in an atomic and discrete way, which means they're kind of separate from each other, and each one is a kind of package in its own right.
Each one is an atom.
They're like lumps. Suddenly I've got visual image of lumps of coal that you can pick up. So yes, they're usually named
Yeah.
to make them easier. So,
I don't care about that. I don't
separate
care
one.
about that.
Ends on this
Yeah.
tree. Choose skills.
Yeah.
You choose them from the top.
Look at that.
And the
That's
in
from
this one, when
that's
you
from
choose skills, you choose them from the top.
Horizon Zero
And
Dawn.
the lines that connect them show dependencies. So where you have on the top,
Yeah. That's Path of Exile.
I've just got a few more.
I don't know what this one is.
Of more complex.
Just a car shaman. Hold on.
I've just got a few more pictures.
Warden. Yeah, I don't know what that one's from.
Ones,
but that's
even more complex.
That's like so.
Of more complex.
Hold on. That's like a Path of Exile wannabe. That's not Path of Exile. I don't think that's Path of Exile 2. Like, what the hell is that?
Even more complex
Weird.
ones.
That's Path of Exile.
Possibly the most complex skill tree in games. This is Path of Exile, and this is a very zoomed out view because there are hundreds of skills in this one. This looks quite overwhelming, to be honest.
It is overwhelming.
The visual
just saying.
representation of these changes from game to game, and they're almost always represented in some kind of visual graphic way because that's
yeah.
nicely presented one. So this is Fallout 4.
That's Fallout. Yeah.
This is a Vault-Tec perk tree. It's not really a tree. Presented. Sometimes it's presented kind of from top to bottom. Sometimes it's from bottom to top. This one makes sense to top to bottom because it's using the metaphor of an underground
for the vault. Yeah. What's usually bought when leveling, one per level or not, etc., etc., etc. Class specific or replace classes. Yeah. Passive and active. Passive and active, etc., etc. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze again.
You can have enhancements to movement. So
yeah. So this isn't what I thought it would be. There's World of Warcraft. Yeah.
One thing that I would.
All right, so that's not
creating.
That's not game design. It's an explanation of what they are. But basically it's saying that the overall dynamic that I have right now is the better way to do the descriptor files. So we're good with what we have. We're just going to keep building it from the ground up instead of from the top down. So we're going to build the smallest ones first. So we have an ingredient, which is, if we go to the recipe, the ingredient is self-contained. The recipe itself is self-contained. We have ingredient, and then outcomes are composed of or comprised of a skill. It's the entirety of a skill. A skill goes into the outcome. And so, excuse me, I wonder if we can, instead of outcomes like this being compartmentalized like this, if we, oh, hold on, question, because an outcome is a skill descriptor and a recipe has outcomes as their potential skill descriptors. Why can't I just use outcome as an ID join, have the skills separate? so I can later group them by class, aspect, etc. Choose. Gonna have to make a phone call and why placing whole skill into the recipe. I don't remember this. I don't remember what the reasoning is for this. Because recipe, outcome ID Firestorm, outcome ID Flame Gust. Splits into two claims and only one of them is load bearing. What must stay? The recipe owns the mapping. One ingredient set declares which outcomes it can produce. Ingredient set declares the outcome. It's fine. That's what makes duplicate set collision structurally unrepresentable. Survives untouched if outcome Firestorm Flame Gust is a list of IDs. What doesn't have to stay, the recipe holding the bodies. That was authoring convenience, not a semantic requirement. What you gain, one skill namespace with one shape. Proxies stop being a special parse path. They're just skills with castable faults that happen to be produced rather than cast. The loader's hoist outcome into skill namespace step disappears because they were never anywhere else. Correct. So I don't need to change the way the loader works because now the ingredients are the only thing. I don't have to work on the outcomes. I don't have to do outcomes. Reading Black Hole today tells you what the ingredients and exactly what comes out. After the split, it tells you the recipe and two IDs you have to go look up. Real cost, and it lands hardest when tuning. Why does this combo hit for 200? Now requires opening a second file. Understandable when you have recipes and you have skills and you have outcomes. I mean, your recipes, skills, and combos, right? So it ends up being based in the data structure as opposed in the like folder structure instead of in the actual file. I like outcomes too. I do, right? So you have a skill and you have an outcome. But what I'm saying for this is instead of what's over there, outcomes, right? Instead of doing ID X name Y, instead of doing that, you have this. You go outcome dash ID Firestorm ID Wind Blast, right? And so now you just have a list of the IDs of that outcome, and you don't have to have the entire descriptor here. So basically we do the same thing as what we're doing here. We have the definition and we have the descriptor. For the outcome, it's just the descriptor where it connects that to this. So if I had outcomes ID Riftlance, it would then pull this in and say, okay, this is what Riftlance is, instead of putting the entire skill into the recipe, right? So instead of this recipe is this, and now the outcomes, oh look, the outcomes are here. Like the IDs of the outcomes are different. The recipe is Ionic Blast or Plasma Torp. That's the recipe. Now the recipe actually makes sense. And instead of it being an ability, Ionic Blast Plasma Torp, it's a recipe. So it makes things better in overall readability. It does make it harder for you to, as an author, for you to say, oh wait, tuning, why is this hitting for X? But because it's a combination skill, that would go under abilities, new folder, skills, right? And then we take all of these, like literally all of these, and they would go into skills. And all of these would go into skills. And all of these would go into skills. Because they're all skills. Those are all skills inside the skills setup. And then these would also go into the skills. And they would have the same, instead of just having the definition, they'd have the same format. Whereas this skill becomes Ionic Blast. This skill becomes Plasma Torpedo. And the recipe would then go into, we have skills, we have new folder, combo, attacks, new folder, combo, defenses or reactions. And combo attacks becomes combo actions, combo reactions, skills, right? And so now, instead of this being here, this becomes a recipe instead of abilities, data, new folder, recipes. You see what I mean? So now the recipe for this goes into the recipes folder. The abilities are, actually we can even do it this way. Combo actions instead of abilities. New folder, combo reactions. So instead of combo actions here, delete that. Instead of combo reactions here, it goes directly into data. So now with combo actions, combo reactions, recipes, skills, abilities, talents, etc. But everything's a skill. So we can further segment it so that we know what's going where when we know what's going where. But right now we can have combo actions, recipes, and skills. So why not do it that way? Locality loss is real, but tooling solvable. The namespace uniformity pays every time you touch the loader. So replicating this in the directory structure with future potential folders, data, abilities, combo actions, combo reactions, recipes, skills, talents, etc. They're all skill bodies with the same fields. What distinguishes them already is inside the file. Family says blah, blah, blah. Domain says blah, blah, blah. Castable says whether it's a proxy. Encoding those in the path duplicates the data the file already carries, and duplicate data drifts. A skill in combo actions with domain reaction is a contradiction nothing catches. Castable false reaction proxy goes where? Into combo reactions. So data, skills, and recipes, period. So skills and recipes. We get rid of combo actions and combo reactions. It's a good explanation for why. So yeah. So recipes and abilities. So these all end up staying in abilities. Get rid of that. So those all end up staying in abilities. And the one that changes is this one. So yeah, that's And then recipes, that's where this goes. And that's where this goes. And the recipe here is just this. So we'd go into recipes. We'd go new folder, ionic blast, and plasma torpedo, right? And then we go new file, ionic blast, and plasma torpedo .yaml, which has the recipe. And then that recipe lists outcomes, and that is ID ionic blast. And actually it's not even, maybe it is. I don't know if it's ID or ID. It's either that or this. I think it's actually this. I think. So, querying by family or race is a registry index, not a directory. When you want all arcane talents, you build map strings. You add freeze time from the fields that works across any tree layout handouts. That's fine. Grouping inside skills is free and semantically inert. Now, Nest, however, helps you author. Skills, gravitics, black hole. So everything inside skills instead of at the top, at the higher level. So that's, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So yeah, we're going to make a minor change to the way that these are held, which is going to make a minor change to the way that the files are created, which is going to make a minor change to the way we're creating the types.go file. Very minor change. Because now the types.go file is going to end up, instead of having the outcomes be a full list of the skill and putting the skill in there, it's just going to have the ID for the recipe. It's just going to have the ID, and then later we'll join the ID to the actual skill. I think that's how it's going to work. I hear my wife calling me. I will be right back. Give me 1 minute. I've been talking and it's been muted. There's an ad coming in 55 seconds. We're going to go ahead and set the ad now. I'll be back in 2.5 minutes. Then I'll re-explain what's going on because you haven't been hearing it because I've had my damn mic muted. We'll be right back. For those of you who are here and not seeing the ad, you get to hear the music, yay. Like, oops. Luckily, I've only been doing it for a little bit, since I think the last time I sneezed, so only maybe 5 or 10 minutes. But specifically, we're going to be, we will be talking about what the requires struct is going, or the requirement struct is going to look like, and how that's going to, how I'm going to learn more directly how, what are those called? Like lists of mappings work. So this is a list, the clause itself, the clause is a list of mappings, I think that's how that works. But basically we're going to be going over that in a few minutes here once the ad is done, so that nobody misses some of the explanation, because I learn better by talking through things. I don't learn by teaching, I learn by doing. But when I talk it through with myself and I can hear myself like talking it through, it forces me to think about things a little bit slower than my mind goes, which means I can pick things up a little bit better, or I see things that I wouldn't have thought of because my mind skipped over it. So we'll be talking about that in about 50 seconds. Yeah. In that 40 seconds now, I'm gonna put my shoes back on. And evidently we're back before the song ends, so give me 1 second. Got booted rather quickly to. All right, so let me change my mouse, because mouse dying. Need a new battery. All right, so I don't remember how far back it was, but we'll go back a little bit real quick here. So I swapped the recipes out because it's easier to just have all these skills and abilities and whatnot inside an abilities folder and then break it out from there later, so that we have like everything's an ability. So we have like skills here or X there and whatnot. So we can break it out and see exactly what goes where, even though the file itself isn't gonna, like, it's not gonna have anything for that. It's just for like storage purposes, for ease of finding the file inside the file system purposes. The main reason for this is to make sure that, hey, I have Ionic Blast. Ionic Blast looks cool. Here's the definition. As soon as I see Ionic Blast castable false, I know that this is a recipe result. So then I can literally go down and find the recipe for ionic blast down here and be like, okay, what is the recipe? Oh, the recipe for ionic blast is firebolt and electrify, which can also provide plasma torp instead. So that's why I separated that. And it just makes it easier to see. We have all the skills separate from the recipes. Makes it really easy to just give me all the skills and then give me all the recipes with a different loader set. And I can literally say, just give me the recipes or give me this, make it a little bit easier. So that's the recipes set up. That's why that happened. Now what I'm doing now is I'm going in and I already did ingredient, which is a single ingredient in a list of ingredients. So when we get to that point, ingredients is going to be a slice of ingredient. It's going to be one ingredient. And so it's going to have one of these, I think that's how that's going to work. I don't think this is ingredients. I think it's ingredient. So one ingredient, one reaction window. Grades is just a list of grades. If we go down here, the grades are on the reaction window. Do we see the reaction here? Here it is. So on the reaction window, there's a couple of different results from said reaction window. You can hit it perfectly. You can hit it not perfectly, but still inside the reaction window total. The reaction window's perfect band is a different one. So you have perfect and you have imperfect and then you have not. So there's only 3 different sequences for it instead of like oh, you hit it, here's the perfect point or perfect band, and then a scaling part. No, this is just 1, 2, 3. You didn't hit it, you hit it, but you missed the perfect and you hit the perfect. That's all it is. Makes it easier for tuning, makes it easier for like verifying that a player did it because of lag or whatnot. It just makes it super easy as opposed to like Twitch based. Oh, you have 2 milliseconds to do it. It still gives the feeling of, hey, I perfected this because you hit it within a window, and it allows the author of skills to set that window really small, and it'll always be at least 1 tick. Even if it's like a 2 millisecond window, it's not 2 milliseconds, it's 30. If I'm running at 30 milliseconds per tick, which I think I'm running at 30 hertz. I'm going to try. Or 33 milliseconds per tick, which is 30 hertz. So that's why that's there, which is why grades is grades instead of grade. Requirement is the same. We take a look at the requirements, and that's requires. And every requirement clause or every requires clause is a single requirement. So this is it's just a list of mappings. Some of those mappings themselves have a list. I think that's what that means, right? And so we get down to here, and this is basically all you have. You have either your predicates can be either a resource or a condition, and the resource can be one of 5 or right now it's 5 different things. I don't have a couple of others that I'm anticipating yet. And actually, technically, in phase 0, there's no resources except for the pool. So there's only 1 in phase 0, but there will be more. Well, there's 2 in phase 0. There's health. But so you have health, you have the actual spend pool, which is I don't want to say innovative, but it's the way that I'm going to make strategy work a little bit more, have a little more depth. So you have this offense and defense pool. That's a resource. You have health, which is a resource. And then obviously you're going to have mana. I don't know if I'm going to call it mana, but you're going to have mana. Then you're going to have energy. You might have fury. You might have the reserve itself. Pool is a total pool. Reserve is a total pool dedicated to defense. So it's pool minus offense. And offense is just the offensive value of that pool. And then there might be more. Like maybe you want to spend, maybe you're the class or the not the class. Maybe the race has a skill that's attached to that race that allows you to pull from the arcane aspect, and you're pulling like magical essence. So you have an essence pool. Different skills will, I think, kind of direct the player down a specific class path. It's still going to be classless, but I think that each skill is like, not each skill, but I think there are going to be a variety of skills that allow you to spend from any resource. But if you match the resource to the aspect of the skill, it's going to change the way that skill is presented. I think that's not not on paper. It's not written down anywhere, but that's something that I've been thinking of. I just decided to voice it now so somebody can call me out if it never happens. So anyway, building the requirement struct. If I remember right, the fuck? What the fuck? What the hell is going on? I never get notices. So when I get a notice on my phone, it kind of stops me in my tracks. All right. Nope, this is fine. We'll just get rid of all of them. It's good. So I think the way this works, if I take a look at the reaction window and I remember how I did the reaction window, there's no dash. So there's no sequence. So this is a sequence, and this is a sequence, and this is a sequence or a list, right? So this is a list of mappings that happens to be a list sequence of mappings, a list of mappings, two of which have a list of mappings. So it's a list of mappings which have children which have a child that is a list of mappings. Verify. For requires. Each clause is a list of mappings which have a child that is a list of mappings. Do I have that right? I think. One extra layer that isn't doing work. Requires as a sequence or a list. Each element is a mapping with exactly one key, clause. Clause's value is also a sequence. So it's a list of mappings, which also has a list of mappings. Mapping whose only purpose is to hold the key clause. Carries no data of its own. It's a label, not a structure. What this means in Go is the clause wrapper is a subject group for clause. Every access reads request 0, clause 0, predicate 0. With clause contributing nothing but a hop. A smell worth naming. A single key mapping. Wrapping a list is usually YAML noise rather than structure. No, this is structure because each one of these is an OR. Each of those clause entries is ANDed. Dash 2. And each clause child, and each clause itself is ORed. A list of clauses. Each clause itself is a list of subgroups. Each subject group has a subject and a list of predicates. What I meant from what I said. Outer sequence, clauses, or inner sequence, subject groups, and predicate sequence, and. So this clause says the caster must have a resource, a pool, which is the total currently available of the pool value between 30 and 90%, and they must not be silenced. As an example, you can negate any condition. And the target, so the caster has to have that, and the target must be parried. Or must not be parried. Okay? Or if that clause does not work, or the target itself can have less than 25% of its health and be burning. That's what that means. Turning that requirement, turning each of those into the struct. The word clause is a mapping key. Oh, you can do that? The second is unreadable, which is exactly why the label earns its place. But the label carries no information in the nesting that doesn't already carry. Oh, absorb the key inside a custom unmarshal on clause so the YAML reads well, and the Go type is subject group without a dead field in between. Oh. So instead of it going requires clause predicates, it goes requires predicate. Right? List of clauses. Each clause is a list of subject groups. Each subject group has a subject and a list of predicates. Okay. All right. So yeah. No sequence. List or sequence, same thing. They both mean the same. A list of clauses. Each is a list or a sequence of subject groups. Each subject group has a subject and a sequence of predicates or a list of predicates. So in order to make that work, we start here. The requirement goes down to the clauses is kind of a thing. So predicates, condition, resource has two things. So we go because of the requirements, type predicates, predicate struct, right? And so this is like condition or resource. Those are the only two predicates you can have. What else could you have for a condition that you want to do things on? Moving, not moving, flying, not flying, that kind of stuff. But right now, those are all conditions. Those are all states. So instead of condition, maybe it's a state. A resource, a condition, and a state. So, so a condition a resource, state. What else? Condition being burning, a buff or a debuff, right? A debuff being parried, a buff being like enraged, like self-enrage. A state being flying, running, falling, jumping, swimming, riding, sleeping. Although sleep can be a condition. I don't know if we need to do state, because condition, you can have multiple conditions. You can be burning and flying at the same time. Maybe state is in combat and out of combat. Maybe we do something like that. So the state would be in combat, out of combat, that kind of thing. So yeah. We'll do something like that. What you think? So condition ends up being, so we're in the predicates. So condition, resource, min and max, right? So we have condition, resource, min, max. I don't see, yeah, right here. Minimum, maximum. These are going to be just general numbers instead of the actual percentage values. Or we're going to take the percent value and swap it. So if the percent is in there, then we end up changing it to a percentage, to a float. I think maybe we change it to a float. I don't actually know, because this is like why I'm learning this. So condition. We have resource. Predicates. Resource is just a list of mappings. How do I do that? If I look at reaction window again, I don't have any reaction. And if I look at ingredient, that doesn't actually give me much of anything to help with either. Because so let's see if I'm right here. For requirement, we go, the predicate is going to be condition, which is going to be a string. For now, later, when we start actually optimizing things, I'll probably have bit fields for different conditions and whatnot. So like MMO, should I use bit fields for conditions, states, etc., or just strings? Go. I think I should use bit fields or something. Yeah, bit fields, bit masks over strings. They're inefficient due to memory overhead, garbage collection, etc. Single unit 64 in Go can track up to 64 distinct Boolean states or conditions. That'll happen later. They'll end up being a part of this. It's just a simple add to each skill or to each effect later on. So this is bad from what I've heard. So we don't want, we don't want to create an enum like that. Which I don't remember exactly why, but Um, we'll use bit masks later. So for now, they're going to be strings. Condition is a string, and that is going to be the YAML. The YAML field inside predicate condition. But it's going to be dereferenced because I want to check if it even exists. Resource is also going to be a string that is dereferenced because I want to make sure it actually exists. Because if it doesn't, then whatever. And then the state will come later. I think we can just use condition. I think we can just use condition. Because condition and resource are the two predicates. Condition is going to be this one, and resource is going to be the other one. Oh, I got to turn that up. I need to be able to hear that. So the resource is going to have a min or a max. The condition, the resource is going to have a min, a max, and the resource itself. The condition is going to have a condition and whether or not that condition's been negated. So it's just condition and then negated is going to be a Boolean. I don't know if this needs to be here. I'm going to actually check for that. I don't think that needs to be there. Because if it's just a, yeah, it's just a true false. So we don't even need that. If it's not there, it's false. Right? YAML negate. Right? And then the resource is going to be the resource, and then min, which is going to be a value or 0, and a max, which is going to be a value or 100, which is going to be the minimum value. 100 minus the minimum value. No, because that doesn't work. It's going to be the number or 100. But if min and max are both 0, then it doesn't matter. Min, minimum, maximum. And these are going to be ints, but they can also be 0. And this is going to be YAML. And YAML max. I think that's all I need for the predicate itself. A condition and a resource. Because the resource is going to have a whole bunch of different stuff, which technically should be an enum, but Go doesn't have enums. Go doesn't have enums. Go devs say iota is actually not good. How do I create bit fields without enums or iota? I literally just said iota is bad. I literally just said iota is bad. Iota is bad. I said that. Come on. Oh shit. So from what I saw, Iota's bad. From what I read, Iota's bad. I thought I read that Iota was bad. I thought I read that Iota was bad. Maybe I didn't. I thought I read that not go, boot.dev, go devs feel that Iota or enums is very bad. Pain points. They criticize it for no type safety. Like -1 or 99 into a Go function expecting your enum type. No exhaustive checking, unlike languages like Rust or Swift. Go's compiler will not warn you if your switch statement misses a variant. Brittle ordering side effects. If a developer updates a const block and inserts a new value into the middle of an existing Iota sequence, it shifts the integer values every subsequent variant. So I can use Iota. It's just not great because it's easier to break than other stuff. Okay. All right. So never mind. Never mind. I'm silly. I'm silly. So we'll use enums later with Iota for bitwise, for bit fields, for bit masks on conditions and shit. And what'll happen is we'll create, when we create the actual conditions, because right now there are conditions all over the place in here that haven't actually been created. When we create the conditions, those will actually have bit masks, so that you can have a whole shitload of conditions on you. All it takes is a little snippet of memory. But I think this works. I think. And then the clause, the requirement, has a subject and predicates. And so the requirement subject has a subject, which is a string. And it's either caster or target, or I think it's either caster or target for the requires clause. But for the targeting clause for a skill, right? So you have the requires clause, and then you have the payload clause, which has a target, which is different: self-target, allies, enemies, all, instigator. But the requires clause is either caster or target. Do we want that to have requires like arena, or requires enemy? That would be target. Requires targets. So you have to have two targets. So like that requires clause is either caster, target, or num targets. Target. Ooh. Predicates. Target. So we have condition, resource, targets. If you require two targets, it can't cast. Right? So we put something in here, subject, target. For the predicates, resource, condition, targets. Hmm. I'm wondering what shape I should have these with, because it's for targets. If I decide I want cells, it's not cells, it's hexes or squares, or like I can't, well, there's no real other easy way to say it. Hexagons are universally the best choice. They perfectly balance movement distances in all directions and offer deeply tactical gameplay, fitting your sighted inspirations perfectly. It's easier to program and fit into indoor and outdoor dungeon maps perfectly, however, they often lead to zigzag movement and exploit heavy diagonals. Triangles provide unique mechanics, but are highly unusual for players to read, making unit facing and positioning confusing. But the problem with that is, right, if I do that, paint, if I do a hexagon, right, don't mind my stuff here, because I'm horrible at drawing. Actually, you know what? If we do a hexagon, right, then we, by default, we have triangles in here. Just by default, we have 6 triangles. And so we could go triangle based instead, allowing us to do something like put another one here, right? We could then put another like triangle there, but not necessarily a hexagon, allowing us to, you know, do a little bit of different kind of movement or whatever. If we go just straight up hexagons, then we have the ability to put them. That hexagon looks like ass. Like, that doesn't look like a real hexagon. It looks so lopsided. But we have the ability to then, like, if I do this, and then I do this. Nope. If I do that, and then I do this. Like hexagons. Right? Copy, paste. Then we can do, like, makes it super easy, right? So we can just go back and forth. We have movement in kind of good directions. There's no real diagonal. The only problem is if you want to go, you want to target from there. We'll do it this way so it's easier. If you want to send a target from, if you want to target something from this hex to this hex, you're going through the middle of one. And it's still 2 hexes no matter how you look at it, but it's like, which one of these 2 hexes now, if there's something inside this hex, which one of them is now blocking that? Do I still have line of sight because I'm in this hex and I'm going there? Or is the position inside the hex something now? That's all. Like, that's the problem I have with hexes, where triangles kind of makes it pretty easy. Like, if you go with a triangle set, you have triangle 1, triangle 2, where you're just I wish I could just turn this now, but basically you then have like So now just looking at this, right? So now if we were to extrapolate this to the other 4 that would be in here, now you're in this triangle and you're trying to hit the hex that's above you. You know, by default, you're in this triangle. The person in the hex above you is actually in one of those triangles. They're in this one. And now if any of those in between, like, it makes it easier. Maybe I make it hex based with triangle sub positioning. Maybe that's how I do it. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. And then the same thing is, I kind of feel like pentagon based would be kind of interesting given what I'm trying to do, right? So now we have a pentagon base instead. The problem with the pentagon, I think, is that the walls aren't, they don't cleanly match. See? So I think that's a problem with pentagon base, unless you make it 3D. You can make it work in 3D. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna go, what I'll do is I'll go hexagons with triangles. I think I'll go hexagons with triangles. Which means instead of the so you know I'm saying targets, and we have allies, enemies. Now we have hex or triangle. Or maybe no. So the triangle will be the positioning inside the hex. So you're in one of 6 positions inside the hexagon. Did somebody send me a message? I think somebody did. I think. Reiji, what's so fun? Oh wait, you laughed at me doing my silly, being stupid. My bad. I was like, what the hell? No, that's just me. All right, give me a second. I'm actually gonna do something here. Oh, they're in the officer chat. I can't go in there. Never mind. Never you mind. All right, let me double check something real quick before we continue. Always have to double check stuff. I procrastinate so damn much. Don't die. I'm such a procrastinator. Okay. All right. Back to this. So we'll have the hexes. So targets is targets. And then allies, enemies, or hexes. And then min and max again. So you need a minimum or a maximum of each. Predicates, you must target X amount of hexes. And so no, that shouldn't be a requirement, should it? How would I make that work inside here? Do I even bother with that? I don't bother with that now. That's something for later. That's an expansion. That's an expansion to this. We don't need it for now. We don't need it right now. I think this is the way this is. So the requirement is subject, which is a string for now, and is YAML identified subject, right? And then we have predicates, which is a slice of predicate. And the predicates, if you have it right, YAML predicates. Correct? And I think that should be the end of that. I think. Oh, dear Lord, I'm going to be wrong on this. You're going to see me go frickin' wacky if I'm right on this. Don't give me the answers, the code. Just explain the yes or no answer. Is this somewhat in line with what I need? Slices are already nillable, so I don't need. I forgot about that last night. Slices are already nillable, so I don't need the pointer dereference on the slice. Got it. And condition resource should be plain string, since empty unambiguously means absent. But and you can negate anything. You can negate the resource pool. Resource pool min, max, negate, true. So instead of this, we can do it this way. We can do it like this, and we can do this. Does negating a resource ban mean anything useful? Oh yeah, so we'll negate it. We'll reject it. That's fine. Confirm the schema key. The footprint uses negate. Your struct says negate. Field name negated. So I did it right. I'm learning. I got that right. It only took me an hour. Two structs took me an hour to do. All right, so now, so we have the clause, which is just whatever. So now we have requires and clause. Creates requirement, which is the subject and predicate, which is actually the clause, and requires type requires right? It's just that simple. Is it that simple? Ah. Wait a minute. So basically, requires here is one clause. No, no. Yes. Predicates is one predicate. And this is a list of predicate. Okay. So it is really that easy. And the skill will go requires clause, requires clause, requires, and it ends up being okay. All right, so it is 2, but I don't want skill yet. Type skill struct, and so we don't even have anything yet. But what that just showed me is that we have requires, which is the requires clause, and then in there we have clause, which is YAML requires. So now requires, boom, and each clause that's in there goes into this slice. And because of that, that literally, and then we have cost, right? We have allows reaction. Right. We also have, if it allows reaction, we have reaction window. Which is also YAML. Right. Oh, that feels good. Oh, that feels good. Also, we have something like that. So that's basically the startup of this. We have preempts reactions, we have resolves versus. So we have all of these things that we're going to be doing for the skill itself. The recipe is already done. The recipe is just the recipe, whether it's discoverable or not. Actually, we don't have the recipe done yet because it requires the ID. So if we go recipe, a recipe is a descriptor showing or for combos that skills. Right, so type recipe struct, and so here we have recipe. No, we don't want that to be like that. We don't want that to be like that. Because skill is very specific skill ID. Recipe, we don't want recipe. Maybe we just go combo. Type combo. Recipe is a string that is YAML for recipe, right? And then we have discoverable, which is a true false. It's a Boolean, which is just YAML. Discoverable. Ingredients is just a slice of ingredient. It says slice. I consider that an array, but I think I'm using the wrong terminology there. I think I read that's the wrong terminology. And then that's the combo skill. The recipe is done. The recipe's done. Almost. Outcomes is a slice of skills. I think. That one might be wrong because I haven't made skills yet or made the skill struct yet, but the skill struct itself starts off with ID. And so the skill struct has ID, which is just an ID. Am I right on this? I gotta be. I have to be right on this. I have to be right on this. I have to. Because if I'm not, I'm gonna be upset. So this is literally just a string. That is YAML based and is ID. Then we have name of the skill, which is also just a string, which is the YAML name. We have the description, is also a string. We ask, I am using Go for skill descriptors for my MMO. I am using a lot of strings. Is there a better way in my structs? Golang structs memory and allocation and optimization. How to make structs? Just reordering the fields. Structure packing. So empty structs. Excuse me. For Christ's sake. So I know I don't have to worry about it now, but okay, we'll just hold off. But name, ID, description, castable is a Boolean. Right. Oh. Okay. So type domain is string. And domain action domain equals action. So these would then get rid of so then I do things like this. Type domain string. Const domain action as domain equals action. Right? Excellent. It's an identifier. Okay, so now I understand that. Now we have domain, type, family, string. Anything that has a string. That makes this significantly more fun. But significantly more verbose. Significantly more verbose. So for validation lists. So basically this becomes a validation list. So do I want this? Line 13. Swift spell. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Well, a long time is relative. But no, it was not. It was not. But now it is. You were last here. Shit. Was it 3 months ago? Right? 4 months ago? Yeah, something like that. Obviously, I'm doing something different. I'm doing something very different. And the time before that was like 10 years ago or something like that. Whatever. So yeah, I'm obviously doing something different tonight. I've been doing this for a week now. My goal is to learn Go and Godot and C# at the same time and develop an MMO that actually has my story in it. Hopefully that, you know, people will like it, but the goal is to learn Go, learn Godot, learn C#. There is a thought, and I'll show you why this thought is coming up for people who are watching right now and have been following for the last week or so, and for other people who might not understand why I'm looking at Go. There's a thought that I move to Rust instead. But not because of Godot, because of this. If I move to Rust instead, then I'm learning Rust, which is faster at runtime, but a little bit, I think I can shoot my foot off a little bit easier than I can with Go. But I end up not having to do a whole bunch of shit that I'm going to need to do manually. But I end up having to learn Rust and Spacetime DB at the same time. But it saves me a whole bunch of back-end shit. Or I learn how to use Nakama, do the same back-end stuff. And this, I believe, you also can end up doing it with Rust. But you get to keep Go for the engine. But I think you can use Rust on here as well, or C#. It might just be C#. Actually, I think this is one of these is C# and like TypeScript, and the other one is like Rust and C#. Like I think I can use Rust with Spacetime as well. Yeah, Rust, C# and TypeScript with Spacetime. I forget what you can use with Nakama. Like how to actually code the back end stuff with Nakama. But because there's something with Godot in here, I could use C#. So maybe I swap to an actual back end that makes things a little bit easier for me. For clarity's sake, Spacetime DB is what Bitcraft is made on and with. It's the same company. They made Spacetime DB so that they could make their MMO. So there is a real thought about swapping to Spacetime DB and learning Rust or C# directly instead of learning Go. But it would mean that I need to learn the database at the same time. However, it would consolidate the coding that I need to learn down to either C# with Spacetime and Godot, or Rust with C# and Godot still, and then adding Spacetime to it. But there have been thoughts. I've been looking at Spacetime for like 2 years, saying, well, when am I going to actually start trying to do this programming thing? And I said, you know what? Fuck it, we're doing it now. So for the next couple of years at least, every day that I am streaming or coding, I'm going to be doing this. Learning whatever it is I'm learning. And right now it's Go. And pushing toward creating that MMO that I want to make, because I'm sick of just putting it off, and I'm sick of not learning things. I've been out of grad school for almost 3 years now. I graduated in 23, in December of 23. I matriculated in January of 24. Got my degree in like May of 24. But I finished everything and you're going to graduate in December of 23. So it's been almost 3 years now, and I haven't learned anything in that 3 years. I've moved around the country and whatnot, but I haven't actively learned anything in that 3 years. I started streaming again at the end of 2024. We moved into this place at the end of 2024. I'm sorry, in the middle of 2025? No, the end of 2024. And so I said, I have to start learning something again. So here I am learning this. And hopefully an MMO comes from it. How have you been, my friend? How have you been? Swift Spell, do you actually code? Do you actually code? Do you actually write stuff? You know nothing if it is. So there was a typo in it. I had spell with 2 E's, just for those of you who are wondering why I'm asking. But yeah, so that's what's going on. That's what I'm doing. Types is fine. You may have maybe 50 constants across domain family. Yeah. One file grouped in const blocks under the type each belongs to. In const blocks. So not one const per line, but const oh, it's standard Go. A formatting convenience. Okay, so we can do this. And then this. This. That works. And now I can just take that like that, because now I'm not keeping these separate like that. So that's good. So now we have tempo, passive, and environment. Helps if we put the right one there. For now, that's the domains. It allows us to add a new one pretty easy. Makes this really easy. And then I can just copy and paste it somewhere else. And I can actually minimize. Oh, that's so good. God, I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. So we have spell for the family, spell, trait, skill, talent, basic. And this will happen for every string entry that we have here. It'll probably happen for the aspects too, right? So I can definitely see why AI would be useful for something like this, because of just how much typing you have to do and how fast AI can get it done if you tell it what you want it to do. I can definitely see that. But holy smokes, is this a really good way to learn this game? I mean, this language. In here? Is it here? Yes, it's there. Okay. So now we have these. Instead of schools being gravitics, schools are going to be these values. So I have a family talent and a school talent. School talent is a school. Family talent is like talent tree. That might be problematic later. Might be problematic later. All right, so that's those. Schools, combo tags are... I don't... Oh, man. So that's going to be a thing. Combo tags. Combo tags are going to be a thing. Because they're going to change with every skill that gets made. Yep. 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 Schools. Applies. Yeah. Condition names. All open sets. Plain strings in phase 0. Schools are not open strings. They're not. Schools is also schools doesn't change. Schools are that set that I did. They could change names, but they're not going to change aspects, families. Those don't change. Excellent. So yeah, this is because these don't change unless I decide to add something to them. All right, so that's it. I don't think I'm going to need anything else. Maybe. So maybe resolves versus might be. Maybe. Item slot might eventually be a const, but we're not doing any of that now. Basically anything that has a pretty significant set here, like newest, oldest, strongest, weakest, targeted, etc. So selection of targets, payload targets. I don't think, yeah, so we're not going to put any other one in here. That's fine. That's fine. We don't need to put any other in there. So we're done with those. And we go back up here to what we were doing. And I said, don't give me the code, just explain yes or no. That was a yes, with a couple of minor changes, at which point I started saying, okay, now we need to start making the skill struct, which got us to this point. So we have domain, which is this, which got us to all of this, and requires. Domain isn't requires. Now we have schools. Which is a string, but it's I'm sorry, this is family, not schools. Family is a string, which is just a YAML family string. And now we have aspects, which is that a thing? Or is that still a slice? That's still a slice, right? That's still a slice. Yeah. Oh, string. So yeah, that doesn't actually exist. So yeah, so it's a slice, but it's an array. Is a slice an array? Is a slice in Go an array? They're entirely distinct data types with different behaviors. So how is an array? What is an array in Go? A slice is dynamic. An array is fixed. It can never change. Oh. And the size is part of the type. Oh. Oh. Go copies the entire. Ooh. Oh, so slices are so much better. All right. I'm going to throw the ad up now. We'll see you in 2.5 minutes. Please take a moment to hydrate. And take care of yourself. We'll be right back. Okay. Okay. Excellent. All right. All right. This is. Give me a moment. X-8-1. Okay. Give me a moment. Let's see here. Give me a minute. I knew that was going to open over there. I don't want that opening. I want that opening over here. Even though I have the stuff here. Okay. So we're trying to make it so that Kayloon can stream again, but it's just not working. It just doesn't work. There's stuff wrong with the computer and whatnot, which is sad because she was doing pretty damn well. Excuse me. Hold on. And she can't. And we're not going to continue trying because she's basically like, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. So if you'd like her to start streaming, send her a message. Say, hey, I miss your stream. I'm bringing that up because I want her to have more fun instead of just being like in this set of the stream, the way that we have stuff, because I'm looking at other stuff. So instead of her just having this or this, where I can swap between the two streams and have everything on my stream, I'd rather her be able to have her own where she can do the same kind of thing, because I'm looking at stuff from before. So yeah. That being said, this 1 second. Well, maybe 5 seconds. That. So. Okay. So, like, that's weird. Okay. So. Get to go yell at somebody. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, back to this. So I get this, but I thought I didn't think I was going to declare an aspect type, but evidently I am. Read Go types left to right as a description of what you have: a slice of string, a slice of string, a pointer to int, a map of strings to pointer of skills. Map of string to pointer of skill. Since aspect is a closed set, this eventually becomes a slice of aspect once you declare that type. Does it really? All right, so aspects and schools are both the same. Once I declare that, oh my God, I already have the aspect type up there. I'm silly. It's already right here. It's already there. And so is school. And this becomes YAML aspects. And this becomes schools. Not school destiny, schools. Not school destiny, just school. And this becomes YAML schools. Because I already added those. Combo tags is just a slice of strings. Is just a slice of strings. Because that's never going to do that. Too many. And then tier is just an int. Sends all of these over another tab. Well, I don't have to do that up there. I'm going to do that anyway. This is a Boolean. I don't know why I have, oh, I have that like that because of this down here, reaction window. So I could technically just keep these closer. this because I'm not like the whole of this is going to be in one area except for like the reaction window one. And so I could keep these back here. I think I will actually, just to make it more readable and less error prone when you're reading side to side. Yemmable, guys, yemmable. Pre-combat eligible. It's 12:30. I'm going to be taking off at 1 because I want to make sure I get enough sleep for bringing Kayloon to the yeah, I'm gonna be bringing Kayloon to the mortuary tomorrow. No, to the airport. She's flying to New England to visit with my daughter for 2 weeks and my grandkid for 2 weeks, while I stay here and take care of her mom. Because it's harder for me to go when I have to work and my work is on the computer and I'm streaming and the streaming requires this computer. We saw what happened when I was gone for 2 weeks, a couple of months ago. So we're not doing that again. So I'm staying here and taking care of her mom. Not really taking care of her. She's not really in need of that yet. But Alzheimer's sucks, and so we don't want her alone. So Kay's going to visit the daughter and the grandkids, and I'm staying here. But I have to bring her to the airport tomorrow to do so. Pre-combat eligible is there. Now we have the requires clause, which is done. Then we have magnitude, which is just an int. And because it's just an int, it's simple. Yasimal. This is magnitude. Scaling cell. This is interesting because scaling cell is a single cell, potency dot dimensional, right? And so because they're a part of that, of this down here, they're literally this, there's 30 of them. Should I do the same thing with the scaling cells? They cross at rows named as schools and columns named as aspects. So I feel like I don't need to, but. Your read is right. Don't make scaling cell a string enum, but there's a better move available in plain string. A cell reference is a composite, yes. It's an aspect and a school joined by a dot. That's a structure inside a string. Storing it is an opposite opaque string, means every consumer reparses it and typos hide until something silently fails to scale. The clean shape is a small struct, aspect plus school, two fields with a custom unmarshal that splits on the dot. Now the type carries the actual structure. Malformed references fail at parse with a line number, and the aspect half gets checked against your closed aspect set for free. The school set will also get checked against my school set for free because my school set is not open. It's closed. And actually, schools will be closed too because that's a 10 entry, unchanging. And it strengthens a cell struct with both halves closed as scaling cell codes into two type fields that are both validated against known sets. Arcane potency fails at parse with a line number instead of silently never matching a grid cell. If aspects and schools are disjoint name sets, no string is both. The unmarshaller can identify each half by lookup rather than position, and authors can write in either order. They're not disjoint. Position has to be fixed by rule. Worth a quick check against your two lists. 5 aspects against 10 schools is a fast eyeball. If aspects and schools are disjoint name sets, no string is both. The unmarshaller. But they're disjoint name sets. No string is both of them. There's no string that is aptitude. They have different strings in both sets entirely. Yay, scaling cell. But in the struct, this is still just a string. You have a choice. String is the lower effort one, which is what I was starting to do. Every consumer that needs the part splits on the dot itself. Scaling cell, where scaling cell is a 2-field struct with a custom unmarshal YAML that splits the string during decode. So the struct can have 2 strings, 2 entries, row and column with I think you're right, they don't exist here. Struct tags tell the decoder how to map YAML keys to fields. Arcane potency is a scale of string, not a mapping. There are no keys. Your unmarshal receives the code, receives the code, reads the string, splits it, and assigns both fields by hand. Okay. The tag on the field that holds the cell. When you take over via a custom unmarshal or you're doing the assignment yourself, and tags on that struct are dead weight. The tag on the field that holds the cell, scaling cell, is not, still matters because that's a normal key on cell. Yes, that I thought. But when it unmarshals it into the scaling cell struct, the custom unmarshaller determines where the stuff in that entry goes. So for example, if I open up Plasma Torp here, scaling cell, I don't have scaling cell there. Let's open Triblaster. Let's open Harrier Riposte. I know I have it on this one. So scaling cell, right here, Spiritual Acumen. So this needs to be red. And then we have that there. And so each scaling cell ends up being a row and a column from those two. And it doesn't matter what order they're in. Singular, not slices. One scaling cell is one cell. Oh, okay. Okay, yes. Got it. And then inside, yes. Got it. Got fucking A. This is so, it's getting to be easy. So now I can do, literally I can do a scaling cell, which is this, and that just, it changes things. That's going to be a custom one. So that ends up being custom okay, scaling cell ends up being this because it's a, yeah, and then that ends up being tab EML scaling cell, and then so now we have, because we need a scaling cell for a whole bunch of this. A scaling cell is an aspect dot school mapping or cell reference to a stat that scales and a skill and ability. And that's it. That's easy. That's easy. And then we have scaling cell, which is this. Okay. Yep. All right. So, all right, what else do we need to do? We need to keep going down here. So let's see, let's go back up to, I still need to do cost payload, arena state, and outcome ref. Outcome ref. Just outcome. It's the outcome list. Oh, it's the outcome references, because now instead of ID here, it's just ID. It's literally just an ID. We have scaling cell. Now we have cost. We got requirement done. I think requirement's done. Yeah, requirement's done. We don't have it up here yet, but we have requirement done. So where's requirement? Requirement is after pre-combat eligible. So we have, yeah, we have requires done. Requires is a clause, is a slice of clauses. Clause is a slice of requirements. A requirement is a string, subject, and a slice of predicates. And a predicate is a condition, resource minimum, maximum, and whether or not it's negated. Okay. We have the requires, pre-combat eligible, requires, magnitude, scaling cell, reaction window, which we have. We don't have cost. We need to do cost. And so cost, if we do cost, cost is a set of costs, whether cost is different than what I thought it was, because cost everything has a pool cost, and that could be 0. So everything has a pool cost. So everything has a pool cost, which is the offensive defensive thing that we are going to be putting into the game. But everything also has an optional resource cost. And that resource can be mana, health, an item, an arena state, a number of enemies dead, a number of allies dead, a number of allies alive, the whole 9 yards. Resources are, it's basically they're all resources. What's the resource that this is going to cost? Allies. Amount, alive, dead, that kind of thing. Right now, that'll all expand later. Right now, those resources are simply mana and health, and they don't even matter because I'm not testing that in the build that I'm going to be doing after this is done. But they exist, and resource at the moment is just a placeholder. So the cost that we have is just a list of mappings or a sequence of mappings. That's all it is. So we have pool, which is a int, right? Then we have resources, which is similar in vein to the requirements. So if we go back up to the requirements, requires clause, we go to subject, we go to predicates. Cost pool, no, let's see. So let's pretend that this is here. So we have predicates, condition, resource. I don't even know. Resources is a list of each resource. So that's going to be this. Same overall design. So resource is a slice of resource. Is a slice of a resource. No. Yeah. So right? Don't need that. Do need this. Don't need these percent out of there. And actually, I don't even think we need that. I don't think. I am very not confident on this one. Very not confident. The YAML is a sequence of mappings. Sequence of mappings. So, silly me, I actually did it, but I didn't put string in there. Minimum. No, so the Boolean for lethal is always going to be false. The default is false. All right. Okay, so let's do another one way down here. This is going to be the last one that we do today. I'm going to go ahead and log after I make this struct. And then tomorrow, when I'm done creating the struct, tomorrow I'm going to be on around 12 my time. So we'll be back in like 11 hours. That way there I have enough time to, sleep, get back up, bring Kayloon to the airport, get back, and get casting. Shit. I have to actually... Shit. Don't quote me on the like noon/1 o'clock thing, because I do have work I have to do for work that needs to be done. I have a presentation I have to actually finish before Friday, so I might not be here right at 1. I don't know how long after that I'll take. If I can justify putting it off until Thursday morning/Friday, then I will. But for now, between 1 and 5 tomorrow is when I'll be back. So is percent or static or Is percent or what static value? No. Absolute. Type. Struct. So it's explaining to me that I want to do, but not an int, with a string. So that's basically what it is. So basically, oh, okay. So I'm not parsing it as a string. I'm bringing it in as a float, because this is what they're going to use. This isn't what we're parsing. This isn't what we're parsing. This is what the parse will actually put it into. But if it's an int, hold on. Hold on. Yeah, I don't. All right. So All right, that ends this. We are now done for today. So I want to thank you all for being here. You guys are awesome. It's a pleasure to be able to learn to code, develop an MMO, and be able to talk to people as they come in, and get advice from people, give advice to people, and just basically have fun trying to code an MMO as my first ever game project, and arguably my first ever programming project that is above just like web development or database like interactivity. So thank you for being a part of that. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Remember, hydrate when you can, take care of yourself, and until tomorrow, ciao. It's a bomb, duck and cover.